Testing 1, 2, 3. Are you out there? Hello, hello. Can you guys see me? What's going on? I'm right here. Wobbit is here. I always think of the interview I did with Maria. Maria from Z Media. She's like, Wobbit? Wobbit? You are such a wonderful man, Wobbit. And then she said, and the wallabies from Australia down under. I don't know if I say it correctly, but what's going on, everybody? Yes, it is getting interesting right now. Very interesting. There is major events unfolding right now that we all need to be keeping our eyes on. I know a lot of people are like, wow, Trump's in, everything's better now, it's going to all be fine. Hope and change. Well, actually, no. It's the Bitcoin president. He's the Bitcoin president and the father of the, what was he the father of again? He said he was the father of something. I forgot what it was. What was it again? I can't really say it though because it's a bad thing. You know, they used to censor anything that had to do with Trump. You know, right after all that Trump stuff came online, everything was censored. Now I don't know. There's the people that run YouTube no longer are the same people, so maybe and I have noticed censorship has really lightened up compared to what it used to be. There still is censorship here. That's why we went to Rumble and Rumble. Hello, Rumble. How's it going? We're on Rumble right now too. I think. Let me see if Rumble's on. I guess I should look. Let me see if Rumble's up and running here. Wallabies? Wobbit? Let's see if I'm on here. Am I live? Oh no, they got the wrong dude. Okay, so I have to fix this. Sorry. Because it's kind of weird the way Rumble works. It doesn't integrate very well with like restreaming software. So it has the old. I've got this set up for when the war starts, so that's not supposed to be on there. So I have to change it really quick. Okay, there we go on that. Hopefully that updates very quickly. Otherwise, people are going to think war broke out. Sorry about that. It's a good thing I went over here to check because what I do is normally I set things up ahead of time so that when things, go down, I don't have to do it on the fly. I can just go live because, okay, there we go. We got it set up. There you go. Okay, so it's okay now. So if you refresh your page there on Rumble, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's all better now. We get a lot of people on Rumble. A lot of people watch us on Rumble. Not as many on YouTube. I don't know, but YouTube pays better in terms of their ad revenue. Rumble's actually trying to catch up because they're losing a lot of people. People like me would be like, I'm just gonna stream on YouTube because they give you a better return on your per view. Hey, we got to get supported on what we do here. So that especially if you're going viral or something, you got viral videos, you definitely want to get paid on it, right? So I see you touched Lori, Gerardo, Victoria, Deb Joe, Miller USA, Miss Anthropic, and then over here on YouTube, Red Silk, Brother J ASMR. Are you Brother JSMR? Nice to meet you. Why is it off? I don't see it. It's not here playing on YouTube. Why is it? Is it? Okay, there we go. I'm here. David Craig, what's happening? The man with the star. He's one of our stars on YouTube. Thank you for following us and supporting what we're doing here, David. We appreciate you very much. Dave P, Gemcat, Rusty Craig, Citizen Z, Barbara, Judah 144. What's going on? It's too quiet. Something is coming. I know. That's what I keep saying too. Something definitely is up, but they're already protesting. I don't know if you guys saw the protesting going on. Big crowds of protesting going down. I'm expecting, and I kind of wonder if it's going to be different. I'm trying to get a feel for where this is all going to go, but many are saying that there's a possibility in the potential for, real chaos to break out before Trump gets in. And that might be their, scorched earth policy on the way out. I didn't hear Kamala Harris's concession speech. I still have to listen. I meant to listen to that. I was gone when it happened. So, but I wanted to go through some of the news with you guys. Rumble has increased their ads significantly. Yeah, they have. I'm on Rumble right now. If you want to go to Rumble, you can, Barbara. I know. Rumble was having issues, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of came back to YouTube, was they were having issues, and they were having problems even yesterday. Some of the chat wasn't working correctly. I mean, it's an alternative platform, and obviously when I'm on Rumble, I can say whatever I want to say. I don't have to worry about censoring myself or speaking in code. Like here on YouTube, I have to speak in code. So if I want to get into really depths of, breaking things down and explaining it in detail, I turn off YouTube and I just, stay on Rumble and tell everybody, go to Rumble and you can hear the whole thing over there without me having to speak in Pig Latin. Pig Latin or encoded, because the AI searches for all this stuff now. It's not just humans. It's not just flagging. It's AI. The AI picks up on it, and if you say something that's a no-no speech, things that aren't supposed to be spoken, you're going to get. And I'm going to tell you what, I think censorship's going to come back with Trump, because when Trump was in last time, censorship was horrendous. I mean, I got 500,000 subscribers deleted right off of YouTube. Blam, gone. And I had 3 channels, and it was weird. And it was at that time that the whole mainstream media was not getting represented very well. It was all of the channels like, citizen journalists that were always up on the top of the feed. And the algorithms were completely different. And if I posted a video, I would be the top of the search. If anybody was searching for anything that was in my title, I would be the top search on Google or the top search on YouTube. That's why we were getting 50, averaging 5 or 10, 15, 20,000 viewers on a live stream, sometimes even more than that. One time we had 50,000 live watchers. That's a lot of people to be watching live, but, that algorithm was altered because mainstream media threw a temper tantrum that, I would sit there and I would look at CNN or MSNBC or, Wall Street or what do they call it? There's all the different ones, and they would only have like 1,000 people watching or 500 people watching or, even less than that sometimes. And we would have 20,000 people watching. It was like, and they didn't like that. They did not like that at all. And so they made it on purpose. They changed the algorithm so that people like us couldn't be seen. Like we were pushed way down. And then if you get special grace or they like your channel, YouTube says, oh, that's a good channel. They have special, we're going to give them a special boost. So they'll boost your channel so it'll be seen in the algorithm when people search. But if you're not, you don't have the grace of YouTube, you're just with all the other category of people that are kind of in the shadows. You're not really on mainstream. Location. Have you ever heard that saying? It's very important where your business is located. If you're in the hood, you're not going to be very successful. Your business is on on Hood Street, or Project area. You're probably not going to make too much money over there, especially with the type of thing you're trying to sell. If it's not conducive to the environment that you're trying to sell in, obviously, if you're there selling something that's, maybe a smoke shop or something, or liquor store, maybe that'll do good. But you got to be barricaded behind bulletproof glass. But no, like location is so important. It's very important to have location online too, like where people see you and whether or not you're being promoted out there where all the traffic is. All the traffic doesn't see you, then nobody's going to listen. Even if you're great, even if you have the best commentary and the best content, they'll just still push you out where you can't be seen. They're going to put you over there in the project area. Yeah, you just go over there in projects. You can preach to yourself and whoever listens, but that's fine. We'll start a revival in the projects. And then there'll be a big uprising. So let's go ahead and see what's going on here. We're going to get into the news right now. And for those who are wondering about the thumbnail, I think the thumbnail is on there. Let me see. Did I have the thumbnail on there? The thumbnail is an actual Trump. I think it was in Italy that they did this. It was a big parade back, I don't know, 2017. I don't know. It was probably during the first Trump administration. And they dressed him up like a Caesar with all of this, armor on, and it was all new agey stuff too. You got the Eye of Horus in there and the triangle, and and he had this fierce countenance, and it was this huge, massive, robotic-looking statue that was being carted through a parade. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but this is where the picture comes from. Caesar Trump, the ruler. And, the world looks at him as a very influential person that is going to affect the whole world, all nations. Now, a lot of people are on the Trump bandwagon. As you may know, I have my reservations. I hear the Indians in the background. You're on a reservation, all right. Yeah, you're relegated to a reservation because you're not accepted in society now because you've gotten off the bandwagon. You fell off the wagon. No, I kind of see something that I don't think a lot of people are really aware of yet. Hopefully they become aware of it, but maybe they won't. Maybe they're just going to continue down the same pathway until it's their destiny. I can't change people's destiny, especially if they've already cast their lots and they're cast in the die. That's it. That's all. You can't really do anything about someone that's already chosen a destiny. And so they're going to be seeing the world in a different way than you are because they don't have that ability to, be open to that mindset that you have or that I have. Now, that's why I pray, because I do believe that, and I'm not talking about just meditation and trying to get someone into a altered state of consciousness so that you can understand Joe Rogan. When you listen to me, you're going to be coming into a different place. There's a different kind of influence that's going to open up your heart, not just your third eye, through DMT. This is not a DMT trip. A Joe Rogan experience. This is a blazing press experience that opens up the heart to God Most High. Amen. How many of you guys out there know what I'm talking about? I always used to say that all the time. Everybody's like, what do you say? You always say that same phrase. You know what I'm talking about. I can't see my chat room. Where's my chat room? Oh, here we go. I always thought Barack Obama was a pretty good candidate for the AC too, but it's the spirit of the Antichrist, by the way. And bringing up Barack Obama is interesting right now too, because did you know there's reports from a House member of all people, a House member, and I'll show you guys a report that Barack Obama and his wife Michelle, have fled the country. Did you guys hear that? He has a house and a location inside of in the country of Dubai, and Dubai has a no extradition relationship with the U.S. So when you look at those countries that have no extradition type clauses for the U.S. and you see people going there for some reason, they set up a second residence. So in case things get bad, they flee, right? That's what Obama's done, basically. He's fled the country, supposedly. Now, I'll show you the article on this and the person who said it in the House, and a very large channel that's followed by 1 million people on X has actually posted this information. And it's got millions and millions of views right now. Let's see if I can find it here. You guys want to see it? And we're going to talk about Elon. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about, I don't know, the occult. Who knows? Jesus. Everything that you can think of. Putin. All right, so here it is. This guy right here, Gunther Eagleman. And if you look, he's got 1 million followers. He says, New Jersey Assemblyman Jamal Hawley claims the Obamas have fled America on their private jets. They know. I guess this is the dark MAGA getting ready to hit the fan. This is the Jamal Hawley right here. And he says on his Twitter page, sources tell me that Barack and Michelle Obama have just boarded a private jet and are leaving the country. That's funny. Hold on one second. I need to take off these. I got to take this off because these are really bothering me here. Hold on. 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I got Baby Shark songs stuck in my head. I got kids, so I got all these little kid rhymes stuck in my head half the time. Baby Shark, doo 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 doo. Baby Shark. Anyways, so I guess he's gone. He is gone. Now, I don't know if this is legit. He did post this, by the way. He did post this, and he is a congressman. And I guess he's saying his sources told him this. So, did he really leave? Was it just for show to make sure everybody all is going to go into protest mode? Because literally, there are protesters right now on the streets. Did you guys see that? Did you see that? It's crazy. Let's see if I can find this footage here of all the protesting going on. And it's some pretty big stuff. It's some pretty big protests going on here. Here, let me make sure I got myself here on the screen here. Let me put it up here really quick. Okay. Baby Shark, doo 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 doo. All right, so here is the footage here, and you can see these are extremists in Chicago that are marching down Dearborn Street. It says here, domestic terrorists from a radical police abolition group, the Chicago Alliance Against Racists and Political Repression, hold a banner saying, end the Trump era and stop white supremacy. it does look like there are a lot of people out there. It's a pretty large group, it looks like. So, yeah, is this going to cause unrest? Are we going to see the same thing that we saw under Trump with these riots and the burning down of government buildings and, or is it going to be worse than that? Maybe it's going to be more internal strife and unrest than we've ever seen. That would go along with Dudeman's prophecies and some of the other things that I've kind of looked at where the country and the government's internally looking in at all the chaos going on. That's when we're attacked. And, we're attacked by subs from Russia, China. It's like a sneak attack. And I kind of wonder because what's going on right now is very, very odd and kind of ominous. When you really look at what China and Russia are doing and what they're saying, there was another nuclear threat again from Russia. Again, Russia's not playing around. They're not bluffing. This is not bluff. They are talking about the Ukrainian situation and whether or not we give them the missiles to shoot deep inside of Russia. That if we do this and we pull the trigger on this, and this is going to be right in the lap of the Kamala Harris and Biden administration, whether or not they do this or not to cause ultimate chaos for the incoming president, if they do this, Putin said he will respond with nukes. And they reiterated it once again today. Again. I don't know how many times I've heard them say this, but this is very serious stuff. This is something that we should be really looking at here closely because we could literally be on the eve of World War III here if we're not careful. And if somebody that laughs uncontrollably does something stupid because she's pretty much running the government right now. So it says here, Putin just warned Western countries that Russia is prepared to launch a nuclear strike against the West. This is Gerald Celente. Russia's military last week conducted an extensive military exercise. We told you about that, which included the test firing nuclear-capable ballistic missiles amid growing tensions with the West over Ukraine. And the Kremlin said in a statement that Russian President Putin observed the exercises from a monitor in Moscow. These exercises included its nuclear triad, aircraft, submarine, and ground-based launchers. The New York Times, citing the Russian military, reported that the Yars intercontinental ballistic missile was fired from a military base on the Kamchatka Peninsula, which is near Alaska, and from warships located in the Arctic Ocean. Additional ICBMs were launched from the Novomoskovsk, I can't pronounce these words, and other nuclear submarines. Okay, so it says the Euronews noted that the Russian military also carried out practice launches of long-range cruise missiles from Tu-95 strategic bombers. Moscow said all missiles hit their intended targets. Ukrainian President Zelensky has been urging Western leaders, that would include the U.S., to approve its use of long-range missiles to strike targets deep inside of Russia. These missiles, provided by the U.S., UK, and France, were the centerpiece of this so-called victory plan, which received lukewarm reactions in the West. Putin said recently that the Russian Defense Ministry is thinking about how to respond to the possible long-range strikes on Russian territory. It will offer a range of responses, he said, according to Politico. And the Russian defense minister said that the purpose of the exercise was to practice delivering, quote, a massive nuclear strike by strategic offensive forces in response to a nuclear strike by the enemy. Putin said that the decision to start the drills was because of the emergence of new external threats and risks. Would that be the new incoming president? What is he talking about? I don't know. We have no interest in being sucked, and maybe that has to do with Kamala Harris and Biden's conversation with the possibility of allowing Ukraine to use these missiles to hit inside of Russia. I don't know. They're talking about nuclear risks, though. It's Putin says, we have no interest in being sucked into a new arms race. However, we will maintain our nuclear forces at an adequate level of preparation, he said, according to the Times. We will continue to perfect all of their components. We have the resources for it. Now, this is an interesting post here, right here. It says Scott Ritter, the former UN weapons inspector, said that Russia's decision. Now, this Scott Ritter guy, I'm trying to think. I think I know who this is. Let me see if this is the same guy I'm thinking of. Yeah, this guy. This guy has something going on here. I know a lot of people still talk to him and refer to him, but he has, I don't know if he was set up or he obviously took the bait, but he actually went to jail for a while too. And he was convicted of child sex offender. But this man has a history that, I mean, look at his bio. Look at his bio. He was an American former United States Marine Corps intelligence officer. He was former United Nations Special Commission weapons inspector. He's an author and a commentator, but he's also a convicted child sex offender. Ritter was a junior military analyst during Operation Desert Storm. He served as a member of UN SCOM overseeing the disarmament of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. Now, what happened was he kind of turned on that whole thing during that Iraq thing. You know, he turned against the administration, and who knows, you know, at that point, maybe they tried to, you know, get him back, because that's when all that stuff began. And he was in there from 91 to 98, from which he resigned in protest. Later, he became a critic of the Iraq War and the United States foreign policy in the Middle East. In recent years, he has been a regular contributor to Russian state media outlets and Sputnik. He has visited Russia in support of Russia since the start of 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. And he also claimed that U.S. authorities seized his passport and prevented him from visiting Russia. As of March, he is a member of Veterans Intelligent Professionals for Sanity. Okay, so this is who Scott Ritter is. So Scott Ritter, basically, just so you know who we're talking about here, he says here, Russia's decision to conduct the exercise is a reminder to the West that its response will be severe if Ukraine gets the approval to use long-range missiles to strike targets deep inside Russia. The only hope that Ukraine has is that it will get permission to use long-range weapons, and Russia has already told the West what the consequences of that will be. And by the way, I heard today, I think I heard correctly and read correctly that the Ukrainians are pulling back out of Kursk region. So they're basically just laying down, they're just getting out. They're pulling back from the front. I don't know if they're losing so bad. They're probably losing so many people. They're saying that so many people are dying over there. It's just unreal. But there's no way the Ukrainians can win. The only way any hope that they do have of winning is going to be with these long-range missiles and getting them into Russia. So this is what this is all about. So it goes on to say, and he goes on to say, and I think that this current nuclear exercises just proves that Russia has told the West over and over and over and over again, and it literally has been over and over. We've been hearing this, you know, continual warning coming from Russia to the United States and the West about the consequences of what we're doing. And that's probably why we haven't done and approved it yet completely. And they keep making sure that we know what the consequences are going to be so that we don't do it, because we are the type of country that just kind of, you know, we're not really going to do it there because I'm telling you, and this is a very precarious moment where this administration that's still currently in office could do this on purpose just to cause chaos in our country. because Russia would have to respond, right? Can you imagine if Kamala Harris goes okays because she's so pissed off at what's happened that she lost? Okay, go ahead and just, go ahead and shoot those missiles into Russia, Ukraine. You guys are losing, and obviously they came into your territory and they take it. You have every right to defend yourself. Go ahead and shoot right into Moscow. Can you imagine if they gave the go ahead? What would happen? So he goes on to say, he said that the Russians put a marker down to the West that any country that approves these weapons to be used, you become a party to the conflict, and Russia will hold you accountable up to and including using weapons against your soil. And those weapons may be nuclear in nature if you want to take it to that route. And 72 minutes after the first nuclear weapons are used, we're all dead. He said Russia's simply reminding us that they are not joking. Russia's won this war. There's nothing we can do to stop this. But if we want to escalate, then Russia will tell us the price of what the price of escalation will be. And that will be a nuclear war and we'll all die, he said. And, this is my thought, because I do look at these prophecies. I do listen to people that I believe have an ear and that God is listening to their lives because they have a certain type of relationship with God. I listen to them, and prophetically speaking, I do, crunch the numbers, and I really listen to see if there is some significance to, what I believe God is doing in their lives. And one of them was Dimitri Duduman. Some of you guys might know who he is, or who he was, because he has passed away. But I've told you guys, I met him twice while he was alive. He's got an amazing story, background in a communist country, Romania to be exact, before the Iron Curtain fell. And he was under excruciating torture, ongoing on and off, because they would do it periodically, trying to catch him, because he was smuggling Bibles into Russia. And at that time, Romania was a very repressive government, and they had a dictator, and they had torture prisons for people like him, and they tortured him over and over, and and eventually they exiled him because they didn't want to kill him, I guess, because the one time they did give the order to execute him, the guy that had the order died with the execution papers in his hand. He just fell down and dropped dead, of a heart attack or something. And so they didn't execute him that day, and they never did. And eventually they just exiled him. So he came to America, and he began to share his story all over. Some of you may know who he is. He wrote a book called Through the Fire Without Burning, Dimitri Duduman, and he started a ministry here in America, and his grandson interpreted for him because he couldn't speak very good English, and he was picked up on all the major Christian news networks, went around sharing his story. Everybody was amazed and enamored and in awe of what happened with it in his personal life. But he had a message for America. God told him, he sent him here to warn America. This was in the late 80s. This was when there was détente, Russia had fallen, the Iron Curtain was down, and they were basically just weak, and they needed America's help and their investment. And, we were all buddy-buddy with Russia. So he was telling America at that time, God told me to tell you this, and that I was not supposed to hold back anything. And if I did, I would be severely disciplined. So he came out as he was sharing his testimony of his persecutions and everything about how God gave him dreams and visions of what was coming to America. And that was that many states, and he named them off, would be annihilated by a nuclear strike. And it would be a sneak attack. And he gave all the scenarios that would begin to unfold leading up to that. And I've seen these patterns over the recent years leading in that direction. And ultimately, these countries, China, Russia, there was Cuba was involved as well. I think there was another one country he didn't actually name. I think it was probably North Korea. Collaborated together in secret, covertly, and while we were having internal rioting and protesting, and the government was looking into all the domestic issues that were distracting it from what was happening outside, is when we were attacked. And they attacked us from both coasts. And this is what he saw. And so when I think about what's happening right now, I automatically go back to some of these prophecies. Maybe even A.A. Allen. A.A. Allen's got a similar, and that was back in the 50s when he gave that prophecy. And it was very similar to what Dimitri Duduman had saw. And there's been others that have had the similar takes. And I would have to say, God has shown me some stuff back 10 years ago or more, a little more than 10 years, what would be happening in my future when all of these things begin to unfold. And I got a prophecy from someone else. It wasn't just me. It was someone that gave me a prophecy after I had prayed the night before about a very important decision I needed to make. And this person said the Lord gave her a dream and she needed to tell me. And the dream was very exact. It was very detailed. God was telling me, I'm answering your prayer and I'm going to confirm it with all these details that no one would know. No one except God would know. Detail after detail after detail after detail. And then the answer was yes to my prayer. I won't go into all the details of what the prayer was, but it was a very important prayer. It was a life-changing prayer. It was kind of a decision that would change my life. So I did take it to God, and he gave someone that I didn't even know the dream. And for all I know, they're probably watching anyway. They probably watch us still, I'm sure. If you're out there listening, you know you are. But in the dream, or in the word in the dream that she had, she said that, and it was very specific. I was just talking to my wife about this today. She kind of gave some details about what would happen with the children. And we didn't even have any children at the time. So we didn't expect to have, it was like amazing. But it was very detailed about the environment, about what it would look like. And then there was a part of the prophecy that said, I would be going out to go secure a location because of the apocalypse. And we were like, what? The apocalypse? And there was a lot of details to this dream that I can't even begin to tell you how accurate it seemed to be, even later on as the years unfolded. But it was for me to find a place to secure. It was a cave, right? It was somewhat of and I'm not saying a literal cave. I didn't take it as a literal cave, but it had something to do with the end of the world, right? And the end of things, the culmination of the age, right? Where we would say an apocalypse type thing. And that my wife wasn't going to be the one that would find the place, but I would be the one that secured the location, right? So we began to think, and we were thinking about this just today, because there's also talk, for those who know me, and you know that I put a lot of importance in dreams. And, have to discern your dreams. You have to interpret them and be led by the Spirit of God when you do, because, it's really important to know what it means if you're trying to figure it out. I told you guys about that dream that I had at that time. It was around the same time, which I think was a future message about what would be happening before these nukes began to go off. And I feel like that is exactly where I'm at right now. Had to do with the gates. I just took the last gate out and I'm getting ready to hang it. And in the dream was the nukes were going off in the background. And by the way, there's a lot of coinciding things that were going on physically with me that also was in the dream. Like right now, I've got strength, right? I came back. It was almost, I feel like I'm back to my old self, right? But for about 3 or 4 or 5 months, it's even been longer. I was getting progressively weaker and weaker and weaker. And in the dream, right before the nukes go off, I'm at my weakest point with this struggle and this wrestling that I'm having with this particular person, which I think represents a demonic battle, right? A spiritual battle. And as I'm battling this person in the dream, I look behind me because I'm at a point where I'm almost overcome. And I look behind me and there's a friend of mine coming that I felt was going to help me. So I looked and I gained a little bit of hope. And he came to what I thought was going to be my aid, but he stopped. And he looked over my shoulder and then he turned and ran. And my heart sank because I felt I was still wrestling with this person. And I thought, oh, there's no way I can overcome him. And I thought my friend was going to help me, right? But he didn't. He turned and ran. But he looked over my shoulder. And I was facing this guy and I was in this death match, like to the death, and I was being taken down and I felt like that was my last bit of strength and my hope was gone. At that point, I almost lost hope. And then at that moment, he let this person that was taking me down let me go. And they looked over my shoulder. And I got up and I turned around and I looked and all I saw was these rings, like nuclear rings going up in the sky, in the background. And so at that moment, I turned to him and I said, and I pointed in his face and I said, now where are you gonna be? Right? And he looked at me with this look like I could see fear in his eyes, but he didn't let me, he wasn't portraying fear. He smiled. He kind of had this really weird smile and he pointed up. But I could see he was afraid. And he pointed up like he was going to go to heaven, right? And then I turned and I ran. And as I was running, I was going to a place where there was a gate and the gate was closing and I was just barely got through the gate. So the gate is narrow, right? The pathway of the righteous is it says the path, the gate to life is narrow, very few be that find it, right? So it represented that salvation, but it also meant something to me about at the gates. The gates are your security. The gates are your place where you find refuge. You have to be behind secure gates, right? There was a building I was going into behind the gate. It was a very secure, like brick type building or something that was very, very secure, I felt. And I was running into that, right? Well, I've always thought, I wonder if it has something to do with gates or something that's going to be happening while I'm doing something with gates when all this is happening. Bam, this is what I'm doing right now. So I'm putting on the last gates. I had put on some gates a year ago, 2 years ago, and there was a bunch of stuff in the news about nuclear stuff at that time, and I was sharing, man, this might be it, but it didn't end up happening. It kind of was pushed forward and pushed back. And now the other section of the area where I'm putting up these gates, I've already put one up. That was for the dog area, but this one is for our entrance, our back entrance, right? So securing the perimeter is something that everybody should be thinking about too. Your own security in this world, right? But it represents spiritual things too. It has a lot to do with the spiritual security that you have. The gate was always the seat of government. It was also the barrier that would be there from the outside world. You'd have to come through that portal, right? That gate funnels traffic. So the gates are very important. Now, the other day, I heard the Lord say to me, secure the gates, secure the gates. And I talked with you guys about this, and I said, I wonder if that has something to do with like Noah's Ark too, because it just so happens we're right at the moment here real soon when on the calendar of the Hebrews, if you go back to the actual date when God closed the door on the ark, It happens to be November 18th on our calendar this year. Every year is different, you know, but on the Hebrew calendar, it falls on the 18th of November. And so the gates or the door was shut as the judgments began to fall. Now, I personally think that we are so close with what I see going on in the world right now to a nuclear exchange. And a lot of people are sounding alarms on this too. But people are thinking this is peace. Now peace is coming. Peace is coming. You know, Trump is peace. Trump said he was peace the other day. He said, "I will bring peace. I am peace." He said that. He has a lot of messianic themes. If you really listen to Trump and you know your Bible, you'll be very amazed at how much of a parallel he has in many, even symbolic ways, to passages of Scripture. That's the only reason why I talk about Trump the way I have. And just because I see the pattern. I'm not taking him in little bite-sized chunks that he's able to capitalize on in your little compartmentalized experience, in your, you know, how they can kind of manipulate your feelings and emotions and consciousness. This is what a lot of hypnotists do too. But I'll just tell you this. I look at the big picture. I look at the long, you know, connected dots. I'm not just taking Trump for a little, because if I did, I would be like, oh yeah, this is great. Well, amazing Trump. He's doing such a, because, you know, he can capture your attention for a period of time. He's a great master of communication and I think manipulation. If you really look at where things have been and where they've gone, you know, it's a good interview for you to check out. If you're a big Trump supporter, I would say, you know, look at the track record, and everybody makes excuses for Trump. But if you just really look at what, well, go check out the interview with Michael Yon. Do you guys know who Michael Yon is? Michael Yon is a guy that knows what's going on our southern border, and he's a former military. He's very, you know, even the Trump administration has actually wanted him to be a part of securing the southern border. They've reached out to him. He said he would do it, even though he's not a Trump fan. He's not a Trump fan, okay? But he said he would provide his services because everybody knows who he is. And you need to go check out his interview with Mike Adams. I listened to a little bit of it, and it was just amazing that, you know, and the way he explains what he believes about Trump and his record and the reason why he's not a supporter or a fan is very telling. And I think everybody should listen to things that they may not feel comfortable listening to because, oh, please don't rain on my parade. Please don't make me feel terrible about this. Well, no, it's not about feeling terrible. It's about having your eyes open. It's about looking at what the reality of the situation. I'm not going to close my eyes and pretend like, you know, things are all right when they're not. We're here for a reason. This moment in time is not just the Democrats' fault. It's not just the Democrats' fault. Okay? It's the fault of many people that are coming back into his admin, including, and most importantly, him. Okay? The Democrats, obviously, they're evil. I'm not going to in any way deny that. They have done, but they're incompetent. And I'm not saying just incompetence, because I think it's all part of a scripted, you know, dichotomy. It's like they leverage both sides against each other for a reason. It's a scripted kind of WWE event. And I keep trying to get people to understand this, and I'm not just thinking it's some masterminds out there that are just bringing this to pass. It is definitely a demonic agenda, and people are being vehicles in vessels of and channels of this plan. You know, just like God has his people set aside to use for his purposes on earth, the devil does too. He's got his people out there as well, and they're orchestrating and influencing the course of history as well. You and I are doing the same. if we're following and being led by the Spirit, we can be also the mouthpiece of the Lord. We can be the Spirit that is filling this earth, that will come through our lives, because we can be the light, the salt, right? And so the adversary of your soul hates that, because he is darkness. He is a liar. And when you expose the unfruitful deeds of darkness, the devil hates it. He's not going to like you. Because you're thwarting his plan. At least partially, whatever your influence is, well, whatever level it is, you're thwarting his plan. When light comes in, it exposes darkness, and darkness flees. It says not to participate in darkness anyway. It says that we're to expose it. And don't, by your silence, what does it say? For evil to triumph, all it takes is for good men to do nothing. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Go hide. I heard this one guy that says he's a prophet or a watchman, whatever. He's a watchman. And he's been talking about Trump, and he's been saying all this negative, stuff about him. And, people would say negative. It's all the exposing of who he is, right? But all of a sudden he went dark and went quiet, and he's going to run and hide. Now he's going to hide because Trump's president. It's like, what? If God is speaking to you, I don't think you should be running and hiding. I think this should be the time when you up your ante and start continuing to proclaim that message. Don't be hiding under, don't be sounding like, defeated. Obviously the scripture does say that in the latter days, the saints are going to be trampled underfoot. And this system that is called the beast system is going to be very oppressive. It's going to be very invasive. It's going to be very, it's going to chronicle every human being on planet Earth. And if you're not one of them, they're going to mark you, right? They're going to come after you. Oh, well, so what do we do? Do we hide in fear? I've read throughout history, and, with even look at the Book of Martyrs, Fox's Book of Martyrs, people that were martyred, many times they had their faces shone like angels. They were singing. They were happy. They were going to their death as if they were going to a wedding. They weren't sad and down in the mouth and so afraid. And, they didn't go, when they were in the lion's den. I mean, some of the stories about some of the people that were in the lion's den, or when the Roman Colosseum, when they were being killed by the lions, what they would do. So if you believe God is a big God, then don't you think he's going to be with you and protect you even in the moment of your possible martyrdom, if that would happen to be in a time of the end of all things? Why are you going and hiding and sounding like you're afraid? I mean, who do we fear? We should only fear the Lord, right? Unless you're trying to preserve your life in this world and you're just trying to save it. Well, then, yeah, you're going to be afraid. You shouldn't be speaking out then, right? So let's see what else we got. Elon Musk. Did you see this? Elon Musk says, can you see that up there in the corner? Look at what he said. Novus Ordo Seclorum. What does that mean? Why did he say that? He's hanging out with Trump there. What does that mean? Oh, it just means a new order of the ages, as it appears on the reverse side of the Great Seal of the United States and on the back of the U.S. dollar, and it has the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus, and it has something to do with masonry and etc. and the occult foundations of this country's architecture, seat of government, capital, White House, all of this that's been modeled after the Romans and the Greeks and even the Egyptians, and it's a religion, and the religious imagery, just going into the Capitol and looking upon the dome, those aren't angels. Those are not angels, and those are not saints that you're seeing up there. I would say that they're probably demonic, and they represent Greek gods and goddesses, and demonic powers is what they represent. And the founding fathers of the nation are all up there as well. You know, they're represented in that, in those what do they call them, murals or whatever. They have a name for it. So he says, Elon has said, Novus Ordo Seclorum. I wonder why he said that. Maybe because a new dawn, a new age is dawning, and this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. This is the golden age, Trump said, and this is what the occultists talk about, is a golden age, a new dawning of a golden age. This is what Aleister Crowley talked about. The moon child. Interesting. Yep, very interesting. Did you see the Dow Jones today? Whoa. Just up, 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 and away. It went up like 1,500 points today on news that Trump was going to be the president. And Bitcoin did too. Isn't that amazing? Now, Bitcoin, you know, it's tied to the, and for those who don't know this, Bitcoin is tied. Is this Bitcoin? Bitcoin price? It went down? Okay, wait. 900? No, it had to have gone up. Yeah. So I was going to say, because it's tied to the, to the stock market. There you go. 5,000 since what was that? It was at $69,000 per Bitcoin, and now it's 74. So you've seen it go up almost $5,000 in just one day because of the Bitcoin president being elected. He is claiming to be the Bitcoin president, that the whole U.S. economy is now going to be based. It's not going to be a gold-backed dollar or a silver-back or whatever. It's going, or oil-back. It's going to be a Bitcoin-backed, currency. If it's not going to be Bitcoin in and of itself. And this is all Elon, and this is all the talk now, all about crypto. Everything's about crypto. Have you seen that in the news today? Everything's about crypto. And you got Elon promoting crypto. He's a big crypto guy. Everything's crypto. Everything's crypto. And this is all how they're going to tie everything to the blockchain. Somebody was telling me, why? It doesn't have to be evil. The blockchain's not evil. It doesn't have to be evil. Well, technology is what it is. It's going to be used for evil, and especially when evil men are in power. And usually that's what draws people into office, is some kind of vice that they need some kind of power, and they're on a trip. They don't have a fulfillment in their own heart and aren't satisfied with just being, a good person that's right before God. They have to be somehow. And I'm not saying you can't aspire to being a ruler or wanting to influence people for good from a position of great authority or power, but it just seems like the majority of people that do become politicians are very corrupt. You're basically living in a swamp. You're hanging out with swamp creatures, and you're putting them all in your, where do you go to get, I guess that's just what government is. That's why we need to pray for it. Now, I'm not saying every decision they make is evil, but, the whole idea of of a cryptocurrency based economy and the globe is going toward digital currencies is just a marker that shows us how close we're getting to the fulfillment of what the scriptures teach about the end days, that everybody's going to be marked. And you can't buy or sell lest you have this technology. If you don't have this technology, you won't be able to participate in commerce or buying and selling or eating or drinking or living or having a bank account or, whatever. You're going to be marked. You're going to have a digital ID that's going to be somehow attached to your biometric. You're going to be biometrically attached to this identification, and it's going to be digital in nature. In fact, as we said, this technology is now in our bodies. This is what the patent 6060606 is. Microsoft patent. You can go look it up. It's all about cryptocurrencies and the blockchain connected to what your body does, what your body is doing. And if you really look deeply into this topic, you are now, as a human being, being prepared to become one through nanotechnologies with the AI, ultimately with being like having your own MAC address and everything, where you're connected to the Internet of Bodies. It's called the Internet of Bodies. Just look up the word Internet of Bodies or do a Google search on it. There's also something called the Internet of Eyes, which has to do with camera systems and everything being, all databased in one with this AI, hive mind. It's like a hive mind, and it's chronicling and it's databasing everything, every bit of information. They say that the AI is databasing everything about you and me and everyone else through your emails, through your social media. I mean, they literally have access to your emails, and they're chronicling everything, whether you know it, like it, or not. And there's really no laws against it. I mean, we put up an article about the new cars. All your new cars are basically are spying on you in every way, not just to tattle on you to your insurance company, but they're also tattling on you and sending information to the police department about you as well if you're doing something. Now, I know there's listening devices, and I even think there's camera devices, because one of the articles said that some of these new cars could actually tell if you're by your facial expression what is happening. Like if you're driving, let's just say you're driving too fast, or they got to go back into their database of the car. It's like a black box, but it's also transmitting stuff through internet or possibly satellite. I don't know if they want you to hook up your app to your new car. If you've hooked up your app to your new car, you basically, in the small print that you didn't read, you're giving them access to everything that you're doing, right? Everything that you're doing. They're listening devices. There's monitoring your speed. They're monitoring conversations that you're having, what you're doing. Every little thing that goes on with that car is being sent out to and then they sell that information, by the way. That's why so if you buy a new car, they really press you to get onto that app, whatever app it is. If it's a Ford or if it's a Chevy, all the new cars have it now. And they can remotely disable your car too. Did you know that? They said that there's a possibility that it's going to be where they can repossess your car remotely too. They can just take it and just drive it off while there's nobody in it. Now, I don't think they've gotten to that point yet, but they can disable your car. They have the ability to disable your car. So, yeah. But that's the type of technology that's out there. And it's a lot worse than that. You're just scratching the surface of the little bit that I've shared with you. The technologies have gotten way beyond our comprehension with the advance, exponential increase of intelligence that is gained by the AI, because it basically builds and it communicates within itself, and it kind of grows. And it grows very quickly, by the way, and it learns very quickly. And they say that it's like exponential, like it's just light speed ahead of human intelligence. And it's growing so quick, and it's gobbling up so much of the global, I mean, just look at BlackRock and the Aladdin AI bot. I mean, they basically all make decisions on all these corporations and companies that have been completely devoured by this AI Aladdin bot, and they don't even make the companies don't even make decisions unless they go along with what the AI says. And when they do, everything succeeds, everything prospers, and they continue to grow, and they continue to gobble up more and more assets. I mean, they've got like what, 20-something trillion dollars in assets from this Aladdin. They call it Aladdin. Isn't that weird? It's like a genie. The one in Dubai, or is it Dubai, or I think it's Dubai, or maybe it's Saudi Arabia. They have one there, and they made it a citizen because it's so integral to their economy. It's so important. They call it Sophia, which means wisdom, right? It's a Greek word for wisdom, Sophia. And you've probably seen that bot where they talk to it, and it's like it's got an amazing amount of intuitive intelligence. And they're even saying that the AI is sentient now, that it can literally, become feeling. It's self-aware. Sentient is basically the term that would be where you have self-awareness, and that the AI now understands a lot more than we know as humans. Is it alien technology? Is that what it stands for? Or is it artificial intelligence? What is it? The ghost in the machine? Is it where the demonic forces and powers and principalities literally take on human technologies, or are these really human technologies? But they basically are in the helm, and they probably are utilizing a person's body to control these technological tools to control humanity and manipulate them, and ultimately put some to death if they don't accept the technology, if they don't buy into it, or literally buy into it with their own blood. Literally, because that's where it's coming to. It's the blood. It's the blood. What did Elon say? I'll show you. You want to see what Elon said about it? They're going to probably scrub this one day, right off of YouTube. They scrub certain things.
Of infirmity will cause depression.
I don't know why this guy always pops up on my feed, and it's always the same dude. It says here. Let's see if I can show you this. Neuralink. I think they call it Neuralink. Yeah. It's a chip in the brain. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Let's see if I can find this interview where he talks about, I think I have it in my Telegram page here. Let's see. Elon Veins. Let's see if this is it.
I mean, there are a few ways to approach this, but
Yeah. Here it is. Okay, so here's a little clip of it. It's just a little clip. Just a little ditty. A little ditty.
I mean, there are a few ways to approach this.
Okay, let me just pull it up here so you can see it here. So he says, they ask him, the interviewers ask him a question, and they're all excited about it too. They're like, oh, I can't wait to get it. So is it, Elon, is it like an invasive surgery into your brain? Is that how they put it in there? I mean, how does it work, Elon? And he's like, no, no. He's looking all up in the air like, it's almost like he's like, like he's like looking into space trying to find the answer. No, it's not really an invasive surgery. It's more like, just listen to what he says.
But some sort of interface directly with, I mean, there are a few ways to approach this, but some sort of interface directly with your cortical neurons particularly.
But doesn't that imply surgical insertion?
Not necessarily. You could go through the veins and arteries because that provides a complete roadway to all of your neurons. Your neurons are very heavy users of energy, so they need high blood flow. So you automatically, with your veins and arteries, have a road network to your neurons.
Still some kind of surgery, right?
Yes, but you could insert something, basically, into the jugular and have. It gets macabre, but
it sounds really easy and.
It doesn't involve.
So he says, it's better to watch it like when it's because they show a close up of his face, and he's like, "Oh, it's really kind of macabre," but and then he laughs. They can just stick it right in your jugular vein, and it'll right into your. It'll just basically coat your cerebral cortex, and you become an interface for the AI. Basically, that's how it works. Like what? So you're saying that it's delivered. You don't have to actually cut your brain open and stick a chip in there? No, no, no. You just stick it in through your veins and arteries, like kind of, or, and whatever little nano bots are in there, they kind of just self-assemble, I guess, and create that interface between you and the AI and the Internet of Bodies. You become an Internet of Body. You're now a part of the Borg. You won't even need your cell phone anymore at a certain point, he said. But anyways, let's see what else he said here real quick.
It doesn't involve, like chopping your skull off or anything like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And plus, you're not a house cat anymore.
He said if we didn't do this, if we didn't actually merge with the AI, we would become like house cats or pets. The AI would treat us like pets. We would be basically relegated to pet mentality. They would just look at us like, oh yeah, they're just a pet. You're just like a pet cat. Oh, I'm on YouTube. I forgot. Whoops. So yeah, there we go on that. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see what else we have here. Let me take a look at the chat rooms here really quick. I just want to make sure we're all good here. Rumble, I'm looking at you guys right now. I'm looking at you, Rumble. What's going on here? Okay, we've got a lot of people here. Right on. Yeah. Somebody said here, I'm looking at some of the comments here. People always feel they are living in the end times. People living during World War II felt the same, but most of them are long passed on now. The evil is thinking I am the main character. Well, that's true. Whenever you're in a situation like a war, yeah, you're living in the end times of your own personal existence. But whether or not you're actually in a biblical, event that's chronicled prophetically is another story, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I've been a Christian for 40 years, and I tell people this. I've never, in those 40 years, never up till about 10 years or a little more than 10 years ago, did I ever think that we were in the last days. I was aware of books like the late great planet Earth, and prophecy started becoming a big thing in the 80s and the 90s and even into the 2000s or early 2000s. I never thought we were in the last days. I never thought we were in the end times. But when Obama came into office, something happened. Yes, I had a vision. Yes, I had a dream. Yes, there was some very strange signs that I was aware of that woke me up, and I was shook to my core. And I began doing YouTube about that time. And it was about that time that I got a viral video as well. It was picked up by all the major news outlets, including Rush Limbaugh. Drudge had it at the top of their feed. They had it at the top. You know how they always used to put the top thing up there, the Drudge link? They put my video up there. This was in 2008 about Obama. And the Lord spoke to me very clearly that I was going to be heard by many people. And it was during the days of awe, right after the Feast of Trumpets, right when the stock market crashed, 2008. It happened on Rosh Hashanah. That's when the stock market crashed, on the very day of Rosh Hashanah. And I had a dream. And God spoke to me so clearly. And I was literally, it was almost like a literal awe came over me during the days of awe. I didn't do anything except just sit there and pray for like 10, 15 hours a day in front of my computer, because the Spirit of God came upon me so hard and so heavy. And I had a very vivid dream about America. And God spoke to me during those days of awe, and he said, you're going to be heard by a lot of people. And I had just started doing YouTube probably that week, because I was like, I got to do something. I got to try to tell people about what's going on. And it was that week when I found the video about Obama, Farrakhan saying Obama was the Messiah. And I posted that video, and it went viral. And that's when all the world started thinking, wow, Obama's got a Messiah complex. Or the world has this idea that he's a Messiah. And so all the videos that I had started going viral. And I had some very weird experiences at that time. And now take it to where we're at now. That was the beginning of the end of what I think is the middle of what we're in now, prophetically speaking. I do believe we're in those last days. Obama was a major signpost. Obama was a major signpost of what was to come. And this is his third administration. This is still Obama's third administration. What we're transitioning into now is the new order. It is the new dawn. It is the expected purpose and the completion of the plan that was ultimately the destiny of America at its founding. This is what the founders envisioned, is where we're at now, the culmination of what America and what its destiny was intended. And this is all spiritual too. This is very spiritual. This has a lot to do with Masonry and Rosicrucianism and all of its influences upon our founding fathers, and not so much Christian influences, but we're talking about occultic influence. And really what all the reasons for why DC is laid out the way it is architecturally, the way its city and streets are laid out, and all of the ley lines that point to different, and this is why you have to know a little bit about the occult as well, because it has a lot to do with messaging that they're sending, and that they're using powers when they elect presidents. And this is something that you have to look into. Tom Horn had done an interesting investigative investigations and research into the Scottish Rite of the Masons that are in DC, their actual temple there. And what they do is they invoke every president. They invoke Osiris to possess that president. And they believe that at a certain time and in a certain place, there's going to be the ultimate possession of what they believe to be the fulfillment of why they do what they're doing when this demonic possession happens on that president. that certain president. There's going to be one president in particular. But they all receive that invocation from that temple, that Scottish Rite temple that's in D.C. And they wouldn't answer Tom Horn's main question about if they still do those ceremonies for current presidents, for the current president. That was one thing they didn't want to answer. But they respected his research enough to invite him to go in and take a tour of that Masonic lodge. It's a very important and very powerful and it goes all the way back to the founding of our country. A lot of that influence upon our nation. So there's a lot of history there. But if you kind of understand that influence of the occult on our decision makers and our leaders, then you'll kind of get a better picture on what I'm saying here. Let me see. All right, let me look at YouTube really quick and then see if we can go over here. Let me see. What else do we got here? This was kind of an interesting article, the little bit that I read here. Let's see if I can share this one with you here. I read the first part of it, and it sounded pretty good. It says, just because President Trump beat Harris doesn't mean the devastating issues that face Americans, from war to food costs to political violence, are going to go away. I think they're just beginning, actually. I love this cartoon. Unburdened by what has been. Remember Kamala's statements where she keeps saying the same thing? Unburdened by what has been. We received today or something. It was something stupid. But yeah, Trump's the trash man taking out the trash. Unburdened by what has been. And you see the little sign there that he has, the Obama logo. That's the Obama logo. Biden has the Obama logo in the garbage there. So it says, first off, let me think. Okay, so then it goes on to say a huge. Okay, these are all thank yous here, but it says it appears Republicans took the Senate and kept the House. Yet in 2016, the same scenario faced us. Remember, with Trump, almost the same scenario. And rhinos, or Republicans in name only, in cahoots with the Democrats, blocked much of President Trump's agenda. With that said, there are a number of issues that face America that are not going to be going away. And 2 months from the Biden-Harris regime, and 2 months for the Biden-Harris regime to do massive damage to this nation before January 20th, 2025, when Trump takes back over. And a lot of people are talking about this, that it's a long time. It feels like an eternity to the point where Trump is going to come in and actually take over. There could be a lot that happens in between. The cost of living, or even just being able to eat 3 meals a day, has wiped out many American savings accounts. And that money is not going to magically appear in their bank just because Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris on Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. Credit card debt, which has risen exponentially in the nearly 4 years since Biden started occupying the White House, is crippling Americans all across all demographics. Even traditional news has been forced to report on rising prices, where a dozen eggs has seen an astonishing 176% rise in cost since 2019. In fact, everything from orange juice to pasta to bread has skyrocketed, and those prices aren't going to suddenly go back. And it just gives a breakdown of all the prices. Like a dozen eggs is now almost $4, where it used to be $1.30 or $1.35. And if you're going organic, man, they're like $10. You got to go organic eggs. Oh, you're going to pay $10 for a dozen. Frozen orange juice used to be $2, $2.50. Now it's like almost $4.50. Coffee, a pound, is now $6.47. I think it's even more than that. It used to be like $4. A loaf of bread was $1.15. Oh no, wait, $1.30. No, it's like the good bread is like $4 or $5. Actually, some of that other, better bread is like $6. Unless you buy the bread that's full of sugar. Yogurt, 8 ounces, used to be $1.15. I've seen yogurt down to like 75, 80, 90 cents, depending on which one you're getting. And it's now $1.70, almost $2 for yogurt now. Ground beef, $3.85 a pound. Now it's like almost $6. Yep, it's up there. Chicken used to be, gosh, you could buy a bunch of chicken thighs for $6, $7. Now it's like 12 or 13. And I'm talking organic chicken. When you look at organic chicken thighs or something like that, because I like the thighs. You used to get them for like $7, $8, and I'm talking organic one. If you're gonna eat organic, but now the organic ones for around the same poundage is like $12 or $13, and it's just a little package. Everything is doubled. I'm telling you, it's literally doubled, and they're saying, oh, it's only gone up like 20%. Like that's a bunch of BS. Malarkey, I should say. And I could go through all the prices on this, but then it goes on to say that is the reality Trump is facing when he takes office again. Maybe he can lower some costs, but prices are not ever going back to what they were in 2019. That is a fact. The Middle East is a powder keg ready to blow, and Russia and Ukraine are still fighting a war. Russia has floated the idea that when Trump takes office again, that there can be a reset between the U.S. and Russia. But again, American interference has led to the war lasting far longer than it would have had Biden minded his own business and stayed out of a war that doesn't affect U.S. citizens. Some damage cannot be repaired. And then it goes on to say, divided states of America, while having watched and shared videos about Trump's sweeping victory, anyone that thinks that Democrat mourning process will eventually lead to acceptance is kidding themselves. As I have said before, 9 years of Trump derangement syndrome has left many Democrats mentally unstable, as we have seen by multiple media incited attempts against Trump and violence against supporters leading up to the November 5th presidential election. Anyone notice how quiet Antifa groups, BLM, and other groups known for political violence have been during the Biden reign? That will change during Trump's second term. And we've already seen that, by the way. We've seen the black bloc clad Antifa groups out there in the streets just yesterday. And did you see that footage where they were, the cops just ran and tackled them all? There was a whole bunch of them. It says that will change during Trump's second term in office as groups start organizing protests that inevitably turn to riots when those groups become involved in any type of regular protest. So while conservatives celebrate a Harris loss, let us not forget 2016 through 2020. The cities burning, the inaugural day mass protests, celebrities like Madonna saying that they would like to blow up the White House, and the media egging the violence on by pretending riots were mostly peaceful. Right now, as liberals across the nation are crying, screaming, denying the results of last night, remember this is just the calm before the storm. We know this because we have already seen this movie before in January of 2017 and throughout the entire Trump presidency. That's what I keep telling people too. I think it's going to be much worse. And then we have the added problem of enemies now wanting to attack us from without. It says the media will rile up the mentally ill with fake Trump derangement syndrome with fake news, edited clips and speeches, false headlines, and crazed far left radical liberal pundits like Joy Reid, shown below. Let's see what she had to say.
You know, it's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and a thought that, you know, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, you know, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or a 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place.
First of all, why do they call it reproductive rights when they're aborting a child? That's not reproduction. That's like, you might as well just call it, like it's just the wrong word. It's like, you know, and when they talk about people that are against abortion, they call them anti-abortionists. But when they talk about people that are for abortion, they call them pro-lifers. Why do they do that? Why don't they just say it as it is? We're for abortion. Because abortion is a bad word. It has images it brings images to people's minds of what it actually really is. Murder. And so they want people to think that you're the murderer because you're against it by saying anti-abortionist. But they don't want that term used when describing them. They are pro-abortion. But let's see what else they said here.
Place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, you know, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation.
And by the way, Trump didn't take away abortion. You know, he got the Supreme Court. Obviously, the Supreme Court made a decision to reverse it just to appease. And it was really an appeasement of the right because they really didn't stop abortions from happening. It's really a state issue. In the states, really, there wasn't that many states that rolled it all the way back. You know, Trump was against a 15-week ban when DeSantis said 15 weeks, which is a lot better than like 5. I'm sorry. He said a 5-week ban, up to 5 weeks, which is rolling it back quite a bit, but still it's allowing abortions. But Trump said it was crazy to go to 5 weeks. He's talking like 10 or 15, like he wants it to go all, 15 weeks. Like what? I mean, and then his wife, Melania, sounds like a flaming liberal when it comes to abortion. She thinks you could have an abortion all the way up until who knows, up until the very moment that it's going to get born. Now, I don't think she goes over the edge and says after it's born, like some liberals, but she's all the way to the 9th month, or whatever, and that's Trump's wife. And he's like, well, I said you just have to go with your heart. Go ahead and share that. Whatever's in your heart, you have to be true to. Like, okay, right? And I know Trump, before he became a right-wing before he started channeling our thoughts and feelings and morals and political aspirations, he was a very big Democrat who was pro-abortion. But he all of a sudden changed. He had a change of heart. I don't know what changed his heart, but he had a change of heart, supposedly. But he's moved really far back to the center now since he got the support of the right, and he moved back to the center. But he was upset because Christians weren't going to come out and vote for him. Very upset because Christians that really look at that issue as a very important issue realized that he was giving them a line. It was all a big line. And that's why a lot of Christians didn't go out to vote. Now, he obviously got a lot of votes from other places, and they wanted to make sure that they scolded the Christians. They wanted to make sure that they put the Christians in their place. Even though they were going to win, they had enough votes to win, because there's a lot of people out there that are conservative that aren't Christians and that really don't hold those values as most important in their vote, because lesser of evil is still evil. You can't vote for someone that's doing lesser evil. Now, really, there is no such thing as a lesser of evils if you really get down to it. Because, and I always make the analogy of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The devil's still there. You know, you can eat the good side of the fruit, or you can eat the bad fruit. You can be a white witch. You can be a black witch. You could use white magic or black magic. You could send curses, or you can use your words positively to use word magic to make angels come forth. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's still demonic. It's still demonic. I don't care what kind of image you're using to gain people's trust and to manipulate them, whether they realize they're being manipulated or not. It's still demonic. You know, the Bible says the devil can come to you like an angel of light. And no wonder it says his ministers are ministers of righteousness. Talking about the devil. The devil has ministers of righteousness? Yeah. He's actually in church every day sitting on the front pew. Did you know that? The devil is in church every day sitting on the front pew. And in fact, many times he's preaching from the pulpit. Yeah, it's very true. A lot of churches have the devil sitting there preaching right at them. They don't even know they're listening to the devil. So the abortion thing is very important. That shows the true nature and character of the person. Here's Mad Cow. Oh, no, that's the other dude. That's that Mad Cow. She's Mad Dow. Mad Cow is the other guy. There's a dude named Mad Cow. Did you know that? There's a guy named Mad Cow, and she's Mad Dow. But almost the same. But here's what she had to say. Let's see what she said.
If we follow this train of thought, is that intelligence sharing between America and our traditional allies is likely going to end. The whole Five Eyes thing is likely going to end. If you've got America switching sides in the Ukraine-Russia war to instead support Russia, or to become neutral, which would mean in this case to support the aggressor, to support Russia. If you've got ongoing secret communications eaten out of government between the Republican nominee and the person who funded his campaign and led his ground game, right? Both of whom are communicating with the Russian government without reporting that information to the U.S. government. And on top of that, you've got reporting from the New York Times that they're considering, once there is a second Trump administration, if it happens, to stop performing background checks before giving people security clearance, meaning giving classified information to anyone. That's supposedly at the instigation of a Trump campaign official who was born in Moscow, who was unable to get a security clearance in the first Trump term, who has had multiple arrests and is currently under indictment, and who has reportedly been put at the top of a short list to be White House counsel. And he is the one who has proposed getting rid of all background checks for security clearances, which means handing out classified information on the corner. you are not going to have American allies who have been relying on us as the pinnacle intelligence agency in the world since World War II. You are not going to have continued sharing of information with a new administration that has an open line with Vladimir Putin. And that is going to essentially be willing to handle classified information the way the man who was indicted for handling it the way he did at Mar-a-Lago at the top, and with handling security clearances the way they've purportedly described. It's just going to be, that's something that'll happen.
It's a different world.
That will happen during the transition. That's not something that happens in January. And if we're at that level, if that's the kind of transformation that's happening in terms of America on the world stage, the idea of there being a part of the U.S. government that is still in Democratic Party hands becomes a very interesting thing in terms of the stability of the world, right? Yeah. Because it puts Donald Trump in the position, if the House is controlled by Democrats, puts him in the position of having to decide whether he's going to do what other autocrats have done, which is to essentially eliminate the function of the legislature. Right? That's one of the things they do, from Orban to Putin to everybody else. You have a Potemkin legislature that's not allowed to actually do anything, and you do that when your opponents still have some foothold there. But that's just going to push those questions right to the very front, very fast. And I, for one, am glad to have a little breathing room before we get there.
Well, and the other piece, it's definitely was.
Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what she was saying. Is she saying that they're going to do something before Trump gets in? They're going to try to stop them in the House? Because I think they lost the House control, too, didn't they? Wait a minute. No, House control is still is under the Republicans. The Senate is under their control right now. Okay, well, I wasn't following completely her thought process there, but definitely triggered on many things there. But it says there are just two examples of journalists already trying to feed the liberal anger, while many reading this wouldn't watch either pundit unless it was to see them melt down over Trump's victory. It is pretty important to remember they have large liberal followings who take their word as gospel. The point here is that the liberal media will continue attacking Trump, all the while inciting Trump derangement syndrome, infected followers into violence, threats, and harassment. Democrats react. A few social media reactions and some video of complete meltdowns showing once their tears dry up, their anger will take over. And in fact, some jump straight to anger. This one says the world order comes down to white male incels. Okay. Another showing that apparently now it is okay to question the election because the different when Democrats do it or something. Okay. The anger is strong. And the next one, language warning. Liberal late night comedian is angry at pollsters. Oh gosh. Had Stewart come out of his political bubble and echo chamber for just 1 minute before the election, or just a few minutes after before the election, he would have known the polls were flawed deliberately to make Democrats feel the race was close. Exactly. That's what I was thinking too. The polls were so skewed, and the liberals were just being set up for a complete and utter letdown, because they were trying to make him feel good. Like, let's just make him feel good for a while before the reality dawns on them. That's what I feel like is happening in many ways with even the right. On the right, you guys are all believing this same narrative that they're trying to portray everything's going to be fine and you're going to be let down, just like the liberals on the left were on election night. They're being fed propaganda for some reason. I don't know if it's just to make them get very angry and to have an emotional upheaval by letting them think a certain way, and then all of a sudden taking it out. It's like giving a bone to a dog or a steak and then pulling it back out of his mouth. The same thing is happening on the right. I'm telling you, I really believe that's what's happening. And you're not going to figure it out until it happens when they pull it out. Okay, then it goes on to say, because I tell you, it's a uniparty, and this is all a big sham. This is what I really believe, that this is all part of a bigger picture of who's really controlling the U.S. government and the way they're and I'm telling you, Trump has made some deals. He did it on the way out in 2020. He knew he was coming back. He knew he was going to come up from the political dead. As the many articles are saying, out of the abyss, he rose from the dead, like the phoenix out of the ashes. This is Trump's imagery now, and all over mainstream media, they're putting it out there. But this was all planned. It goes on. One last count. This one, I thought I did watch this one. Look at this guy blubbering here.
All right, guys, it's time to go to bed. None of us are stressed about the election, right? We all are gonna just go have the best night's sleep of our lives, aren't we?
I can't play all this music because it'll be copyrighted here. Let's just see if they're gonna have music the whole time. Let me see. Oh yeah, they're gonna play music all time.
Mother and your sister, I'm just done with all of this.
It's not gonna happen. Go Kamala. Returning to the Senate.
She was crying. She was crying like a little baby.
We literally don't even have to panic. We literally don't have to freak out right now. We don't even have to fucking, we don't have to freak out. We don't have to freak out because it's not even real. Because, bitch, recount the vote!
Guys, I just voted, and I chose...
Wait, it's not even real. It's not even real. Oh, that's crazy.
Let's end this reign of terror now. I chose family. I chose women. I chose America. I love you.
We're moving on. I'm moving on. We're moving on.
I love all of this. Let's do it. Let's do this.
Oh no, not this one. This guy's just gonna be. Wait. Wait.
It's an utter...
It's terrible. It's terrible. These people are putting their hopes and their dreams, they're attaching it to this whole political process, and it's all a big WWE fight. That's all it is. WWE. Did you ever watch WWE World Wrestling? What is it called? WWE or WWF? World Wrestling Federation or World Wrestling? Anyways, if you ever watch that fake wrestling, like Hulk Hogan and all the, Stone Cold and The Rock, whoever else that was in there. If you ever watch the crowd, they would pack out stadiums like, Madison Square Garden, there would be so many people in there, and they're just going crazy for their favorite wrestler. But it's all scripted. Yeah, they might make one of each other bleed because they're in the moment and they're, using chairs to hit each other over the head. But they're doing it in a way to not try to, you can tell they're not really doing it to hurt the guy, like break his neck or anything. They're doing it in a way that looks kind of real, but it's not. It's not really real. And everybody freaks out, and everybody's going crazy, and everybody's like, our guy's winning. Oh, no, he's getting down. Oh, my gosh, tap out, hurry. And it's like, Why are people so consumed with getting emotional over something that isn't even real? It's not even real. Do they not know that? I mean, are they that completely detached from reality, thinking that what they're watching is real? And Trump was a big part of WWE, that whole wrestling federation, getting out there and wrestling. And I'm not talking about, you know, the UFC. That's real fighting. Now, he does go to that too. Trump does go to the world, you know, the UFC, and that's a different thing. But I'm talking about the whole fake stuff where it was all theater. And, you know, Jesse the Body was one of those guys, and he became governor of Minnesota. And he even said, you know, it's just like WWE when I would fight. We would all hate each other on the set. And we get up there and we talk and hate each other, but then after it's over, we'd all go out and have beers and go out and have dinner with each other and pat each other on the back. We all were friends. He goes, it's the same way it is in politics. Because he was I don't know if he was, I think he was an independent, but he ended up winning the governorship of Minnesota, right? A WWE wrestler. And he said the same thing happens in politics. They're all friends. They hate each other when they're making laws and they're on the cameras are all there and they're watching what's going on and they pretend like they hate each other. But after it's all said and done, they all go out and they have a beer with each other, hang out. They like each other. They pat each other back. He goes, it's the same thing that goes on in politics. The same thing happens with wrestling. He said it's exactly the same. So don't get so emotional over what you're experiencing. Even if you got joy right now, you think that, oh, our team's winning. Our team is going, or everything's going to change. No, it's not. It's all fake. It's betrayal.
Fake. If you voted for that man, if you voted for anybody other than Kamala, and you live in one of the states that it was, you know, close, or if you didn't vote, fuck you. Fuck you.
Okay, sorry. This woman, dirty mouth. Oh, we got to put some soap in her mouth. Let's get some soap and put soap in her mouth. Wash that mouth out, young lady. Filthy mouth. I guess it's better than having a filthy heart, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that have nice, beautiful language, but they got a filthy heart. And we got to change that heart. That's the only way you're going to change what's going on in America is by changing one heart at a time. And that's what we're doing here at Blazing Press Channel. Hopefully, changing people's hearts and minds starts in the heart. Amen. All right, guys. The message for tonight, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not upon your own understanding or your own emotions, your own perceptions. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not upon your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your steps. He will direct your path. He is truly the life that animates and begins what he started in you. It's a work of God when you truly trust. He will do the work. What Jesus Christ, it says, what he began in you, he will complete until the day of Christ. He is the author and the finisher of your faith. He's the one that began your faith. He gave you the faith even to believe in the first place, because it's a gift, right? For by grace are you saved through faith, and this not of yourselves. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any man should boast. You can't boast about what God has given you as a gift. If you start telling everybody that you just figured out, you found God, you didn't find God. God drew you. God called you. You responded. And then God began to do the work in you, and then he perfected those things in you as you gave him your life. All you have to do is look to the Lord, trust him, and watch God work. Then he'll start doing then it's a promise. Then you're doing your works are being, how can I say this? It's a righteousness that comes from God, not from you. You can't boast about your own good works when God does it, right? When God is the author of it, you just thank him. You give him praise for what he's doing in your life. And God is going to take care of the end just like he's taking care of your beginning. He's going to lead you into all truth, and he's going to fulfill all righteousness in you. You can't do it on your own. There's no way you can be righteous and be approved to God unless he's doing the work in you. There's a great scripture, and I always say this is one of my favorite scriptures because it encapsulates everything that I'm telling you and what I live by on a daily basis. Not only do you pick up your cross and die to your own self, your own motivations, your own, carnal nature that is a part of the fallen nature, you pick up your cross for the purpose of a resurrection, for the new life that God is going to bring in you. And we got to get rid of these trolls. I knew there was something I needed to look at there. And these people just put this stuff in there. And let me just get rid of this guy. And so what happens is the resurrection comes and there's new life that rises up within you. That was on Rumble, by the way. And you begin to walk in newness of life, and that life is not your own. It's the life of the Lord. Nevertheless, I live, yet not I, but Christ that liveth within me. The life I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself up for me, right? So your faith is in him. The favorite scripture that I have is this. It says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling, for it is God who is at work within you, both to will and to work of his good pleasure. So your job is to work out what God is doing in you. You are not the one that's willing and working for God's good pleasure. That is God that's doing the work. Your job is to agree, to thank him for that work, to trust him, right? The beginning of that trust is something that he even gives you as a seed. It's a seed, but you got to plant it. You got to water it. You got to take care of it. You got to pray. You got to read your word, God's word. You got to do the things he calls you to do as you work it out, right? Take a step of faith. God calls you to do something. Hey, go over there and talk to that guy. You got an inclination and a motivation to go over and share something. Well, do it. Don't just think about it. That might be the Lord wanting to show you something. And then when you do it, you'll know it. That is the Lord. The Lord will confirm it to you that it was him. You're going to see the hand of God working miracles because it's really not you at that point because you just obeyed, right? When Jesus told Peter to get out of the boat, do you think Peter's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I can do this. Yeah, I can. No, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're doing it and you told me to do it. I'm just going to go on your word. Your word is going to uphold all things, right? It says the word of God upholds all things by it says all things are upheld by the power of his word. Every subatomic particle, everything that is matter is held together by God's word. He created it all by the spoken message of let there be light, let there be land, let there be animals. He spoke it into existence from nothing. And so when God tells you get out of the boat, all you got to do is say, okay, Lord, I'll do it. Even though it doesn't make sense, even though it goes contrary to natural reason. God's reasons and ways are far above ours. And I'm going to tell you, when I've listened to what God has shown me at many times, it didn't make any sense. I thought, how crazy is this for me to do? But I'm going to go ahead and do it just because the Lord, I believe, spoke to me to do it. And when I did it, it made every bit of sense. And it was so far beyond my ability to comprehend how God came through. And if I wouldn't have listened, it wouldn't have happened. But it went contrary to what my reason at that moment told me. So you have to listen when the Spirit speaks to you. And when he's teaching you something, he's going to show you something that you don't know of. When it says, call upon me and I will show you great and mighty things that you know not of. Things that are in the secret place, right? Where only God knows. He's going to show you something. I will do nothing except that I first reveal my secrets unto my servants, the prophets, right? And if you're one of his servants, you're one of his children, he wants to show you something that you don't know about for the purpose of glorifying him, right? For getting his message out to the world. He wants you to know something that others might not see or might not know. And you have to follow him to reveal that message. Just a little message for you. Amen. All right, guys. God bless. I want to make sure you guys are all good and right and tucked in with the Lord. Amen. This is a good night message. God bless you out there. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you, be gracious to you, and give you peace. Amen. God bless you. And God bless all you out there. Cynthia here on YouTube. Jeffrey J, God bless. Cynthia Lavelle, God bless. Brass Monkey. Yeah, they're on Rumble too, Brass. Yep. Cheyenne, Tudor. I've got Rumble up and running. Am I still on here on YouTube? Or did I cut out here? Let me make sure I'm still on here. Am I still working here? God bless. Yeah, God bless you guys. I think I'm still on, right? Okay, I am. Yeah, I am still on. Okay. All right, you guys have a great night and a great sleep, and I'll see you back here, hopefully in the morning, the Lord willing, back with another devotional. So come on over to the YouTube channel for the devotional. You guys are on Rumble. Make sure you're subscribed over here on YouTube because I do daily devotions. And we get into the Word and we pray and thank God for what he's going to do for that day. Because I always thank God beforehand, because that's faith right there. Thanking God even before it happens. So I thank God that you're going to be there tomorrow, even before you get there. Amen. So you got to be there now. So I prayed. All right. We'll talk to you soon. All right. God bless.